ever been so like excited about something that you just really couldn't wait to do it? Like that's how I feel about this episode, y'all. Like it's just like, oh, it's bubbling up out of me. But again, welcome back, y'all. I'm back, your host, Ashley Aids, on the Parent Network podcast. Now, this is season five, the number of grace. And boy, do I have some things to share with you all. So let's get into today's episode. So I just want to kind of refresh you all to what the Parent Network is, the podcast offers, who I am, and where I have been in my life, the growth that has taken place, the heartache that has actually happened, but the clarity, the focus, the courage, and the confidence that has been built over these last couple of months, but really, y'all, all of 2024. So again, the Parent Network is a resource hub for parents. We are a hub, a community that literally is here to help parents develop in their emotional well-beings. This is why the Parent Network exists. There are so many layers to the Parent Network and the vision that God has given me that I absolutely cannot do everything by myself. But what I can do, I am doing. And so this is why we're back, y'all. We're back with the podcast. If you have not listened to the previous seasons, I do encourage you to go back and listen to seasons 1 through 4. There's so much goodness that is on the podcast. And like I said, the number one episode that is still number one is No Contact in Family. And so I'll give a brief update on that. But let's see. Whew, 2024. Let's just unpack really quickly. 2024. I would say that was the year of more unlearning, the year where my voice really became prominent in my life. And here's what I mean by that. I did not allow fear or worry or what are they going to think be the sounding board for which I launched off of in 2024. Yes, fear will show up. Fear did try to show up in a few spaces, but I moved into fear. And I feel like the declaration that I made in the beginning of 2024 was very sure. And when I tell y'all, Ecclesiastes 7, verse 8, better is the end of a thing than its beginning, I'm standing on business on that one. The way that I ended 2024 was not the way that I entered. And to say the least that God comes for your words, he did that. He did that in 2024. And so yeah, let's just unpack. I'll start off with unpacking my person and how my person grew in 2024, which inevitably evolved into parenting and so many other relationships because like I said before, we connect because we're parents, but we're not growing up in our parenting. We're growing up in our person, and then everything else that we touch, every role that we occupy is going to benefit from the growth of our person. So, how did Ashley grow in 2024? Ashley grew in awareness, awareness of myself, awareness of the vision that God had gave me for the Parent Network, for parenting, for relationships, for business, for life. um, Ashley grew in her voice. Like I said, I did not allow fear to hinder my vocality and expressing myself in the things that I've seen, in the things that I've heard, whether it was received or not in certain spheres. I grew in parenting. I grew in parenting, and parenting in 2024, it was very different. because there were some experiences that happened in 2024 that no one can prepare you for. No one really prepares us for real life experiences like grief and transitions and questions about grief and grieving with children and family members and transitions that you thought that people were going to be there and they were not there. And so I grew in all of that. And I really feel like there has been like this accelerated process of growth because from that growth, I've seen multiplication. I've seen multiplication in the areas that I have poured into intentionally. Even with the hub, the parent hub that's under the membership, the how the ladies in the group have grown exponentially, and to be able to see their growth, that has blessed me beyond measure. And to understand that we are all growing. Okay. Regardless if you want to admit it or not, you're growing. Now you can be growing up, you can be growing down, but there is some form of growth, whether it is negative or positive. It's a growth. Now, growing in my person took courage. It took a lot of courage in 2024 for me to grow in my person. One of the things that my therapist shared with me, and I'm going to continue to say this, is she told me, I really appreciate how you plan. I love that you plan, but when are you going to execute? And that sticks with me so much because I like to call myself like a masterful planner. I really enjoy planning. However, in the planning, there can be a pause that comes there because of what's going to happen next. And in 2024, I had to really be intentional about not allowing the pause to become permanent. And we do that very easily. We can say, okay, I need a break. And then the break becomes, okay, I'm gonna get to it tomorrow. I'm gonna get to it the next day. I'm gonna get to it the next day. And then the next day and the next day. And then nothing happens. And so we have to understand that a pause is not a break. It may be a recalibration. It may be something that you feel like, you know what, I just need to hold on and get my bearings and then get back to it. And that's really why we're here now with season 5. I needed a pause. It's not the end, it was a pause, and it is a pause. So, as I have been growing interpersonally, it has affected how I parent. It's affected how my children respond to me, how I respond to my children. Um, Many people, okay, many people that will watch this episode either are on TikTok or have heard about TikTok. And I believe that TikTok was so useful for me in 2024 because it kind of brought me out of my comfort zone. I am a very relational person. I really enjoy deep, meaningful, connecting relationships. I'm not superficial. I don't like superficial. I don't like small talk. And so if you have small talk, 9 times out of 10, I'm probably not going to engage unless like the Lord is like pushing me, like, girl, now you know. And so I try to like, okay, God. But I don't. I like meaningful conversations. As many of you know that follow this podcast, I love the stories of individual. What is your story? How did you become where you are? All of those different things. And so TikTok was so pivotal for me in 2024 because it forced me to be visible. There were moments there where I did like say, okay, well, this is what I want to do. This is how I'm doing it. But then I see other people doing it this way. So maybe I need to do it this way. And so I started to kind of pattern myself after that. And the Lord got me together, y'all. He got me together and said, what did I tell you? And I'm like, okay, well, what did you tell me? What did you tell me? And he said, I told you that I created you to be the blueprint. And so while you're looking for models and molds, you're not going to find it because you are it. And there are going to be people that are going to model after what you produce, but I need you to produce. And so, one critical thing that I produced in 2024, and I am excited about it, was the wellness planner. That was something that I was sitting on since 2022. It was on my vision board in 2022 to be launched November of 2023. And things happen, finances shifted, time shifted, but I never put that thing like to rest. It was just like, okay, I'm gonna pause. Again, I paused it, but it was a very long pause. And this year, a friend of mine was like, okay, what are you doing with the planner? You need to get the planner out. You need to do the things. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. Let me put this in my budget because y'all know that I talk about budget, and not just financial budget, but relational budget, time budget, self budget. And we'll deal with more of that on the next episodes of the podcast about what it really looks like to create a healthy budget. And so as I put it in my budget, I told the Lord, I said, I am going to sacrifice something else because this is a desire that I have. It's a part of the vision that you gave me. And I absolutely know that it's going to bring increase. I don't know when. That's not my business to know when. But I know if I continue to show up, if I continue to talk about it, if I continue to put it out there in the faces of people, it's going to bring in necessary, finances, visibility, all of the things. And so it was launched in December, and I was very, 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 very proud of that. And so if you need a wellness planner, it's 100% digital. It is interactive, and it gives you wellness ideas, affirmation, a year at a whole glance. It's undated, so you can use it multiple times. There are affirmations on there where you can write your own affirmations, solo date ideas, and so much more. Budgeting tips are on there. You need to download that planner. Go ahead and purchase it. Purchase it for yourself, purchase it for a friend, purchase it for your kids. Okay. Get them in the habit of understanding what wellness looks like, not just self care from the outside, but also from the inside. That was just like a little station break for y'all to just go ahead and go to the website real quick, click the link, buy it, and then come back and listen. So, as I really reposition myself, I really feel like 2024 was a year of repositioning for me. It was a year of intense repositioning in some moments because, like I said, I'm a planner and I like to know what's going on. And in many pockets of the year, I had no clue what was happening. I felt like certain things were literally falling apart. I felt like in certain areas there was great growth, but I had to fight for peace in a lot of pockets of 2025 because the enemy is very cunning and he will present certain things to us to make us believe that it is a certain way when it's really not. And so this is why I and I'm also aware that everybody that listens to the podcast may not be a believer in Jesus Christ, and that's perfectly fine. I still hope that you listen to the end and receive the wisdom, receive the encouragement, and prayerfully, there will be a conversion that comes just through my authenticity and the authenticity that comes through those that I bring on this podcast. Again, it is a parent network podcast. So I am collaborating with parents, and there will be times where I'm not collaborating with parents, but those that work in the family sector and the environment that have wisdom for us as parents and individuals. You guys, like, collaboration is so, so, so important. And I know you're like, okay, go back to what you were saying. I'm gonna get back there. But I just like to flow. This is why 9 times out of 10, the podcasts are not scripted. I don't have a paper in front of me to tell me what to say and how to say it because I want it to be so authentic that you understand this is who I am and that you see the realness and the rawness of the experiences that I go through because I understand that my life is not just for me. Your life is not just for you. It is the experiences that you create that are going to help other people get through the very thing that you might have gone through. So, getting back to 2024 being a year of intense readjustment. So, as I had to readjust um my outlook in 2025 on certain things, I had to adjust my attitude in a lot of ways in 2025 because, whoo, in 2024, y'all, excuse me, um, it was a hitter. It was a hitter. 2024 came with a lot of hits, but I am grateful, like I said, that the Lord came for my words in the beginning of 2024 when I said, the end of my year is not going to look like its beginning. And I can emphatically, okay, with a hard hand say, it looks totally different. And I have so much peace. I have so much joy. I am so excited about what's to come in 2025 and 2026 and 2027 beyond. That doesn't mean that there will not be struggles. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to have to face some giants. But I recognize that if God is for me, who can be against me? And so I want you to take that declaration as well. If God is for you, who can be against you? There are going to be times that we are going to be challenged, even in our parenting. So, how did 2024 challenge me in parenting? Like I said, dealing with grief. As a child, I dealt with grief. At 10, that was the first major experience with grief that I ever had. And then as I got older in my life, I experienced grief. There were things that happened, but it really didn't rock me in my core like, it did as a kid. And now that I'm an adult and I experienced grief as an adult, and there were like consecutive losses in 2024, not just in the death and transition of people, but in the death and the transition of relationships too, that I had to grieve. And so, as much as 2024 was a year of readjusting, it was a year of grief. And here's the thing with grief, we can't stay in it. It's going to be with us. Grief is one of those emotions that's going to be with you. It's going to be with you. However, you have to make a decision not to allow grief to overtake you, not to allow grief to become your identity, not allow grief to become the role by which you operate in all the time. I'm not telling you not to experience it. I'm not telling you that it's wrong when it comes, and I'm not even telling you how you should deal with it. There are healthy ways that I have subscribed to dealing with grief because I feel like it's so important that my children see me handle life experiences in a way that I'm human and I absolutely experience it in my humanity, and I don't negate it, and I don't try to come out of it as if I'm superwoman, but they also see, okay, mom is experiencing it. She's feeling it, she's processing it, but then she's also moving into the things that she's supposed to do. And then when the feeling hits again, you acknowledge it, you feel it, and so on and so forth. And so over this year of 2024, I have really tried to model that for my children. We've had more conversations than not about grief, about ways in which we handle it, especially the stages that they come in, the anger, the sadness, the resentment, the rage. Oh man, the sorrow that comes with it, the anger again that comes with it. The Lord kind of showed it to me like this, you all. He said, Ashley, grief is like a pendulum. It can swing you so far to the left that it overtakes you, it swallows you up, and that you stay there in that deep, dark sorrow because it can happen just like that. Or you can allow the pendulum to swing you to the right where you move into a space of gratitude. And what that looks like is when the memory of an individual, an event, whatever it may be, comes up, while you may feel sorrow, you allow joy to be produced from the memory that I got to experience this individual. I have these memories with them that I will hold with me for however long I need to hold on to them so that I don't just feel sad. And in that, as he began to talk to me about that, there was comfort that came to my heart. And so, as I've had conversations with my son about grief, I've tried to incorporate that. And we know that people can be walking around smiling and be so, 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 so sad in the inside. And so, parents, this is why it's so important that we check in on our children. We check in with their mental health, their emotional health, their physical health. How are you doing? I am such an advocate for asking open ended questions more than closed ended questions. Now, that's not to say that we don't give them a moment to, process what they're experiencing. We don't want to bombard them because we don't want to be bombarded at times. And so, again, anybody that's listened to this podcast before knows that I say parenting is a whole relationship. And so we have to have respect and honor, and it goes both ways. But checking in with our children is fundamental. It's fundamental. I'm going to say it again. It's fundamental. We cannot leave it up to chance. We cannot leave it up to, oh, they're just in this teenage phase or they're trying to experience or explore what their identity is. No. Check in. Talk to them. Be there for them. Sit with them. Hear them. Listen to them. Hold them. I've shared this before on the podcast. I was never the person that loved physical touch. Not in that regard. Not in that regard. I have since been delivered, y'all. Okay. Um, and so God gave me exactly what I needed in both of my sons. And with the youngest one, he is highly physical touch, highly, highly, highly. And over this last year, I have learned to lean into that, making sure that I was providing what he needed in the arena of, just that safety of physical touch, being there, hugs longer than 60 seconds. Was doing something funny with my friends before, and I was like, when I see you, I'm going to give you a hug for 60 seconds, and you're going to count it down because all of this. And so I have since grown in that area because, again, like I told y'all, 2024 was a whole year of adjusting, readjustments in so many different areas, and realizing, even in my friendship spaces, how to show up for my friends where they are with what I have, being fully me, not pressing them beyond their capacity, but also not allowing them to just stay there. And that translated into every area of my life. And so with my children, it's like my oldest son, he is quality times, gift giving, he's acts of service, he's a teenager too. So they love, having things. But beyond that, at the core of who he is, he just loves to be with you. He doesn't have to be in your face. He just wants to be in your presence. And because of the transition that took place with him now living with his dad full time, when we're together, it is a lot more quality time. And like I said, just being with me, me being with him. Like, I am proud of him as an almost 17-year-old young man. I am proud of my 10-year-old as we have navigated through transitions that were expected and some unexpected. And so I leave space for them to be able to share how they're feeling, what they think. And nothing that I'm saying on here, they will be like, she's lying. Nothing. My oldest son has seen me grow from the time I had him up until now in so many different stages. Like, he's the one. They say you owe your oldest everything. Yeah. He's seen it all. He's seen it all. And I am so proud of my own evolution. And as parents, like, we have to take a moment to sit and reflect on our evolution. Did we always get it right? No. Will we always get it right? No. Are we perfect? No. But God has perfectly knitted us to our children. and to the families that we were even brought in by, because there was something that we needed to get and to give. So I encourage you, as you're listening to this episode, and after you're done, sit and reflect. Sit and reflect. Celebrate your growth, celebrate your evolution. Stop focusing on the things that you cannot change. Hi, I'm Ashley, an ex recovering control addict. You're not going to be perfect. You cannot make everything perfect, but you can show up and you can be the perfect you that your children need you to be and that God desires for you to be. Why? Because He created you and He made account for every single thing that you were going to experience in life. He's not thrown off by our grief. He's not thrown off by our pivots. He's not thrown off by our readjustments. He's not thrown off by any of those things. We may be, but He's not. And so, as I experienced so much grief this year, I've allowed the Lord to help me swing into gratitude and not stay in the sorrowful place, the low place, the sad space. Absolutely nothing wrong with those emotions, but we just don't want to stay there. We don't want to allow that to be our life. And if you need tools, if you need community to help you, if you're stuck in that area, this is why the Parent Network Hub exists. Get the help that you need. The community is amazing. We're growing and we're thriving in the Parent Hub. And I would love, and the other members would love to surround you and connect with you in the Parent Network membership. It is amazing. We're going on 4 years in this May, and I'm excited for what it's going to become, how it's going to blossom, whatever wants to happen, whatever God wants to happen with it. I'm on board. I'm on board. Okay. Listen, y'all, I'm on board. So, the last thing I want to share is how I've grown relationally. 2024 ended some things relationally. 2024 shifted some things relationally. And whew, I laugh now, but I wasn't laughing before. I laugh now, but I wasn't laughing before because I understand that, as the scripture says, He makes everything beautiful in His time. Y'all, look, this is my favorite mug, and it's the scripture on there, that He makes everything beautiful in its time. And to everything, there is a season. A time to mourn, a time to laugh, a time to grieve, a time to pluck up, a time to plant. Go read Ecclesiastes 3. Just go read it. Go read it. The whole chapter, read it, meditate on it, jot down some notes. Because one of the things that I realize, like the way God works with me, is when there are seasons of transitions, He takes me back to staple moments that were pivotal for me, and also the scriptures that I stood on in those transitional moments, because God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And so He's not changing. We change. But there are things that are like etched in our makeup that's like, okay, if I got through this point, how do I get through the next point? And one of the things that I teach is, when you're reflecting and you're looking at your growth, how did you grow in this area? What did you do? Because 9 times out of 10, what you did over there, you're going to be able to reproduce it over here. So we have to understand that cycles are going to come. The scripture says, as long as the earth remains, seed time and harvest remains. the family dynamic, the family structure, relationships, all of those things were made in the beginning. That was God's plan and his order. Man is not to be alone. And that's not just talking about a relationship between a man and a woman, but we're all supposed to have community and to be in some type of communion with one another so we can grow. And so while there are going to be relationships that come to tear some things out of you, and expose you to you, there will be some relationships that heal and that grow you in areas that may have been dormant or areas where you were too scared to allow the light to shine. And God came in and said, nope, you don't get to stay in that space any longer. And so I had experienced a lot of those type of relationships in 2024. But then there are some where in your mind, you're like, oh no, we're going to grow together for a very, very long time. And some of that just did not happen. And you have to be okay with that. And I had to be okay with that. I had to sit with that. I had to acknowledge that it hurt. I had to cry. Okay. I cried about it. Well, I had to cry about it. And clearly, this stuff had to get knocked down too. But I had to cry about it. And because of that, I believe that God honors every part of our lives. He knows, again, where we are. He's not off put by the things that we experience. And no, I'm not going to edit that out because, like I said, it's real life. Um, he's not off put by our experiences. We just need the proper tools so that we're able to process things. This is why I am such an advocate for Jesus and therapy, because sometimes our friend group, we can't give them everything because we don't want to overload them, because God has placed people in the earth to be able to equip us for the things that we need, give us the necessary tools. Your friendship space should absolutely be a safe space for you to grow in, to thrive in, to have hard conversations, to share some of your fears with, some of your secrets with. But we don't want to always give every single thing to our friendship group because they can burn out. And this is why I ask people like, hey, do you have the capacity for this? And people ask me, hey, do you have the capacity to handle X, Y, and Z? And so this year I had to talk to a therapist again, because when transition happens that we're not expecting, relational transitions, grief transitions, although you may know what you're supposed to do, you still need that safe space. And so in this year of 2025, if it's one thing that I can say I'm excited about, is new connections. I'm excited about new connections. I'm excited about open doors. I'm excited about strengthening the relationships that I do have. I'm excited about continuing to forgive and to release and not live in the past. I'm excited about my future. I'm excited to graduate, y'all. I didn't share that in the beginning, but let me put a pause here. Your girl will be prayerfully finished with her PhD program at the end of this year. I am in the dissertation phase right now, and I'm so excited about my topic. I'm thankful for my chair that I have that has accelerated the process and sees, the vision and is like, let's do it. So I am in the last leg, y'all. I'm in the last leg. I'm in the home stretch. Yes. And I'm excited about it. I'm excited to see what God does with this degree, because this was on Him. And I've shared that with you all before. This was not my plan. This was not my path. I'm not a person who gets hung up with titles. But I understand when God tells you to do a thing, you have to obey. And so, although I kind of delayed a little bit, I ain't gonna lie, as I've obeyed, He has done tremendous things in me first and for me. And so, as much as I can, invite you all on the journey of the dissertation process. I will. But just know your girl, she about to be done soon. So as we just kind of just wrap up this episode, 2024 was a year of bountiful harvest in so many ways, while simultaneously being a year of grief. And while two emotions can exist, God is always going to be God because He is the head of my life. Everything works for my good. Even if I don't understand it, even if I don't like it, I'm going to agree with God's plan that it's going to be good. And so 2025, I am excited to just experience more of God's goodness internally and externally, to journey into all of the things that He has for me, to journey into all of my heart's desires. One of the things that I didn't share was 2024 was also a year where my inner child, my inner child grew so much. Little Ashley explored so many different things. I have DIY'd my kids to life, okay? Not to death, but to life. From homemade milk to making my own elderberry syrup, to making my own cranberry juice, to trying out different recipes that are healthier options for us. I am on a journey of wholeness, and it is my desire to pull those along who want to go. And so here is where we're going to land today. If you know you're ready to grow, you're ready to glow up as an associate of mine, I like to say, you better glow, girl. If that's you, make sure you're following along on the Parent Network podcast, on the Parent Network platforms. Follow me. Listen, as I follow Christ, because if I start following somebody else, y'all, go another way, go another way. But if you know you need to be connected to the Parent Network, if you are a parent, again, click the link, go grab the resources that you need. I created a guide for co-parenting. It's a digital guide, very short but very simplistic and useful. Grab the guide. We're going to be dealing with so many different topics. So many different conversations are going to come out this year that I am excited about. But I just wanted to kind of share with you all where I was, where I am, and where we are headed. Until next time, y'all.